Don't do this at home, it's a big mess. The pieces are flying all over my studio and I almost cut my hand.
I know who I am. I keep dancing with my...
It's almost 3, I'm finally in the studio. I had to take care of a couple of private things that I neglected over the past month. And it's no wonder, I've been way too much in the studio. I've made my edit of Little Jean Jacket from start to finish, as well as Dancing with Our Hearts. By the way, I just got today the cover for it. Also, the new Shadow track is almost done except for the vocals, but that's a task for tomorrow. I also finished the Rising track with Kaylee, and I started 3 instrumentals that I haven't even revealed yet. So all in all, a very busy but also very successful month. You also have to keep in mind that I'm editing these vlogs each and every night. This costs also a lot of time and energy, but it's somehow worth it. It keeps me very motivated to have to present something new each and every day. Today it just wasn't possible. I had to take care of the private stuff first, so it's the perfect timing to listen to your tracks and do the first edition of track submits. First of all, thanks to all of you for submitting your tracks. I got way more than I was expecting and all of them are really great, so I will just go through the emails, select one randomly and play you the first track. The first one is by Ben, his artist name is Indigo High. The track is called Deep Tropical House. I assume this is just a working title. And he's 14 years old and he has problems getting the vocals to fit nicely in the mix and also in general with mixing.
Can you hold my hand? We'll make it to the end. Can you make my life not feel so uptight? Can you hold my hand? We'll make it to the
end. The musical stuff is really good and amazing, especially if you consider that Ben is only 14 years old. I didn't produce that good with 14, no way close to this. So it's really good. There are some technical things that I don't like, and I think the easiest to show them is by showing you the analyzer. The RMS value is pretty low, so the track is really quiet. This is usually no problem because it will be mastered anyways. But to be able to compare it to other tracks, I will just put a limiter on top of it to make it a bit louder. The vocal loudness is okay. I will just skip into the break. The vocals really sit nicely, especially within the break. I wouldn't change anything about it. Maybe a little bit more reverb, but that's a question of style. The thing that would maybe improve the track the most is getting the low end right. Yeah, definitely a bit too much kick and sub bass. I've done in the past a lot of mix mastering for other people, and like the single most happening mistake is that people have the kick and the bass just way too loud. They want it to be like really energetic and bass heavy as they know it from the club, but they always forget that they are doing it in the studio, where the speakers are set to be as flat as possible. So putting too much low end into a track will muddy up the entire mix and make the track really quiet. It's really hard to correct it. So probably always just go for a little bit less kick and less bass. There's just one more tip maybe, and it is to get a little bit more movement in the track, especially into the lead synthesizer. It's almost going through the entire track without too much of a change, so maybe automating it, or maybe at some points layering it with other sounds might make it a little bit more interesting. So let's see what the next track has to offer. This one is from Kento. He is from Tokyo, Japan, 19 years old. Started a year ago producing. His artist name is T Typhoon. And he wrote me what he has problems with, and it's mainly getting the balance in the mix, and this is really something that I've told you a lot. This is something that comes with experience. There's not really much I can tell you and help you, just need to make more tracks and each time it will get better. He also tells me that he has problems placing elements in the stereo field, especially when there's a lot going on. So this track has obviously a completely different style. This is more going into a EDM direction, which is also fine for me. The track is really nice. Musically it's cool, it's okay, it fits the genre as it should be. The arrangement is also okay, the break part could be maybe a bit more dramatic. So technically what really strikes me first is number one, the track is a little bit too loud, too much mastered, but not a whole lot too much, but maybe 2 dB less would be nice to have a bit more of a dynamic range. And he wrote in his email that he has problems placing the stuff in the stereo field, and I think this track already exaggerates a little bit placing stuff in the stereo field. You always have to consider there are a lot of places where you listen to music only in mono, for example on your phone, and if you do phone call is done. So the thing is, if you have something that is really wide, and this track is a little bit too wide, and you listen to it on mono, the sounds that are in the stereo field, they cancel out each other. So I always, when I make something stereo, I check it in mono if it also sounds good. And you really have to find the sweet spot. I myself also like to have a wide sound. It sounds amazing if you listen to it in stereo, especially here in the studio. But some clubs only have a mono system, they don't care about stereo. Cell phones and those small boom boxes that a lot of people are using at the moment, they're all mono, so you have to keep that in mind. And you also lose quite a lot of punch in club music when you do it too wide. For this track I would maybe suggest putting a little bit of distortion on the lead synthesizer or some bit crushing, just a little bit, a couple of percentage, to make it more crispy, more interesting. And as I said in the track before, but for this one it counts even more, is more movement with the lead synthesizers. In his email he also talked about how it's hard to mix when there's a lot of stuff. And the easiest advice is just put less into your track. That's also something a lot of people do wrong at the beginning. They put too much stuff in there. They think the more they add, the better it will sound. But if you listen closely to other tracks by people that you like, you will see that they have only a few elements in the track. Also my tracks, with the time, I've learned how much to put into them. It's still sometimes too much. If I listen to other tracks, I always have the feeling they're really empty, but this emptiness gives you the fattest sound at the end, especially for club music. The best parts that keep the people dancing the most are the ones where you only have the kick and the bass. Maybe get rid of a couple of elements, or try to place them differently in the arrangement. So for example, in one part have those 4 or 5 elements, and then the next part 3 or 4 other elements, so that they don't play at the same time. This keeps the track interesting over time. It's easier to mix, you will have a fatter sound and way less problems with the mixing. Excited for the next track. This one is by Severman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's 14 years old, also really young, and he's from Germany. And this track that he sent me is called Öko. It's his new future house track, and he wants some general feedback. I'm always taking notes while listening to the tracks. For this one I got that I really like the effect sounds and the build-ups. With the mixing, there's like one big problem that I'd like to address. You can hear and see that there's like a gap here in this frequency range. There's a lot of kick and a bit too much of sub bass, and this lower bass part is entirely missing. I would either layer the sub bass with a more fuzzy bass sound, or layer the lead synthesizer with something that is playing an octave lower and fills out this space. The rest of the track is really nice. It's perfect for club environment. I would also suggest, as I did in the track before, maybe trying to make the lead synthesizer a bit more dirty and more interesting. Also, automating more would be nice. There needs to be more movement, especially with tracks that do not have vocals. I'm lucky I'm getting vocals, so I don't have to do that. The vocals already make enough movement and interesting stuff, but if you're doing an instrumental, you really have to make sure that it keeps interesting over the entirety of the track. Now it's your turn to write your feedback to these 3 tracks and help the people out. So that's already it with the first edition of track submits. Keep the tracks coming. Down below in the description are all the infos that you need where to send the track. And now I have to take care of more of the annoying private stuff. I have one to-do list with the business stuff, and I'm always on point taking care of everything. But my private to-do list is just getting bigger and bigger, so time to take care of it for the rest of the day. I keep dancing with my heart. I keep dancing with my heart. I've now passed the fancy area of the town where all of the after work people have fun. I'm now meeting up with Vanessa. We're going to the movies. Oh, it's been so long. It has been away. Oh. I'm always amazed that they let me in with the big camera, and we're watching a movie that is so embarrassing that I don't even want to talk about it.